Ever felt like you're being watched when you're alone at night? That cold prickle down your spine, the unexplained creak in the hallway, the whisper that isn't really there until it is. These aren't just ghost stories. These are real accounts of what happened when people were left alone in their homes and something or someone decided to join them. Lock your doors, turn on all the lights, and whatever you do, don't look behind you. The man in the oil painting. By the time Ava noticed the man in the painting, it was already too late. She had just moved into her grandmother's old farmhouse after the funeral. It was the kind of house that creaked and moaned with age, sitting isolated on the edge of a vast field. The air smelled like dust and forgotten memories. Ava didn't mind being alone. In fact, she welcomed it. The first night, she explored the house with a flashlight, checking each room like a curious child. When she reached the attic, she found a dusty sheet covering a massive oil painting leaning against the far wall. Pulling the sheet off revealed a man in a black coat and top hat, his pale face painted in chilling detail. He was standing in a field that looked eerily similar to the one outside the house. His expression was blank, but his eyes were oddly lifelike, dark and focused, watching. Creeped out but intrigued, Ava left the painting there and went back downstairs. That night, while brushing her teeth, she heard soft footsteps overhead, the attic. Assuming it was just the old house settling, she ignored it. But the sound persisted for hours, creaking, soft tapping, dragging. The next morning, she returned to the attic. The painting had changed. The man was closer to the foreground. His head was tilted, still staring. She stared at it for a long time, trying to convince herself she was imagining things. But something in her gut twisted when she finally turned to leave. That night, she locked her bedroom door. At 2:14 a.m., she woke up suddenly, not to a sound, but to a feeling, like she was being watched. She turned on her lamp. The painting was on the wall across from her bed. The man's face was now inches from the canvas, his expression twisted into a slight, unnatural grin. His eyes glistened like they were real. Ava screamed and threw the lamp at it. The glass shattered. When she turned the light on again, the painting was gone. She ran out of the house barefoot into the field. She didn't stop running until she reached the neighbor's place a mile away. When the police investigated, they found no painting in the house. The attic was empty, but the field outside held fresh footprints, just one set, leading from the attic window to the edge of the woods. There was no way to trace them, and Ava never went back. Scratching from the vents. Eli was 17 when his parents left him home alone for the weekend. The family had moved to a new house just 2 weeks before, a tall, narrow place with oddly placed air vents in almost every room. The previous owner was a contractor who'd apparently done custom ductwork himself. The first night alone was uneventful. Eli stayed up late playing games, fell asleep on the couch. It wasn't until the second night that things started to get weird. Around midnight, as he lay in bed scrolling through his phone, he heard a scratching noise coming from the floor vent. He paused, listened, nothing. He turned off his phone and rolled over. Scratch, 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 scratch. He sat up. This time, it was unmistakable. Something was inside the duct. Probably a raccoon or something, he muttered, getting out of bed. He grabbed a flashlight and went to the hallway vent. He crouched and shone the light inside. Nothing, but the scratching continued, now from the vent in his room again. He moved back. More scratching, then silence. He decided to ignore it. Animals get stuck sometimes. He'd tell his dad to check it when they got back. At 3:21 a.m., he woke up to a new sound, breathing, soft and wet. Right above him, the ceiling vent. He stared at it, heart pounding. Then a whisper, "Eli." He screamed and ran to his parents' room, locking the door behind him. He stayed there until morning, sitting in a corner with a baseball bat and every light turned on. The next day, his friend Ben came over, and together they removed the vent cover in Eli's room. What they found made both boys vomit: long strands of hair, nail clippings, a dirty toothbrush, and a crumpled, stained hoodie that didn't belong to anyone in the house. The police later discovered a crawl space behind the walls that connected to the vents. It was just big enough for a small adult to move through. They never found who had been living there, but every now and then, Eli's family still hears breathing in the vents, especially when they think no one's home. The red door in the basement. Maya always hated basements, but when she inherited her uncle's old townhouse, she had to face one. The place came cheap, and she needed somewhere to stay while attending college. The basement was massive and mostly unfinished, full of old furniture, tools, and mildew. But it was the red door at the far end that made her stomach turn. It was metal, bolted shut with heavy latches and a thick chain. Someone had painted "Do Not Open" on it in white, flaking letters. She asked her uncle's neighbor about it. The old man just shook his head. That door was always there. Even your uncle never went near it. Maya didn't plan to either. For the first few nights, nothing happened. But on the 5th night, while studying in the kitchen, she heard a loud bang from the basement. Then another. She grabbed a knife and descended the creaking stairs. The red door was rattling, shaking violently. The chain strained like it was about to snap. And then it stopped. Maya backed away slowly and sprinted upstairs, locking the basement door behind her. At 2:47 a.m., she was awakened by a metallic sound. Clink, clink, clink. The chain. It was breaking. By the time she got downstairs, it had snapped completely, lying on the floor like a dead snake. The red door stood slightly ajar, revealing complete blackness beyond. She called her parents and her neighbor. When they arrived and opened the door, they found a narrow descending stairwell. It led to a hidden room with walls covered in scratch marks. In the center was a pile of rotting blankets, bones, and a rusted collar. Whoever or whatever had been locked in that room had escaped. And the most terrifying thing? A second set of footprints, wet and bare, led from the basement stairs to Maya's bedroom door. They never found anything else. Maya moved out the next day with her parents.